So with the Nintendo Switch being the very first hybrid console ever created, there is a lot of fan demand for some of the classic Nintendo games that we all grew up with and know and love to make it over to this hybrid system. And while we did get a fantastic collection of Mario games for his 35th anniversary in the form of Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which was sold and released in a limited time format where you cannot download the digital version from the eShop any longer. However, you can still track down physical copies of the game, but it is technically speaking discontinued as far as Nintendo is concerned. And in today's video, I want to discuss a missing game out of that collection and break down whether or not we may ever see this true top tier classic 3D Mario make it to the Nintendo Switch in the future. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. As I mentioned, guys, today we are looking at a little bit of history with how Nintendo handled the release of Mario 3D All-Stars, in addition to a discussion of one of the classic 3D Mario platformers that is still missing from the availability on the Nintendo Switch. And of course, the game in reference we are discussing is Super Mario Galaxy 2. And the thing that spawned the idea for this video is late last night I was working on getting an all-in-one interface set up for multiple emulators and things on my gaming PC, and it occurred to me as I was adding in my library of games that yes, indeed, Super Mario Galaxy 2 is still missing from the Nintendo Switch. So I chose to boot it up and play it for a while, and just even re-experiencing the very early sections of the game, I was flooded back with memories of how quality this 3D Mario experience is through and through. I mean, you don't even have to take my word for it. It currently sits at a 97 on Metacritic, which is amongst the highest rated video games of all time, period. And while I absolutely love the first original Super Mario Galaxy, I definitely feel like the level design and the stage setup from Galaxy 2 may be superior in a lot of ways, or at least comparable. If you were a fan of Galaxy 1, you will most likely be a fan of Galaxy 2, not to mention the fact that we get the introduction of Yoshi as a playable character, or ride-on character I should say, as Mario returns to classic forms from the Super Mario World era, where yes, you can ride on your favorite dinosaur Yoshi, and that adds in a lot of fun and exciting platforming elements into the title, as well as some puzzles along the way. And re-experiencing this game again got me wondering, will Nintendo ever choose to bring this over, and how do they do it now when they've already sold us a $60 package of 3 classic Mario games as part of the Mario 3D All-Stars collection? It definitely feels like it would have made more sense to include Mario Galaxy 2 into that collection. And now that that window has come and gone, as that game was released in September of 2020 and I believe was stopped being sold in March of 2021, we are now in a situation where one of the great Wii 3D platformers may be left to die on that platform, and that is a very unfortunate situation if that is indeed what we are to expect Nintendo to do going forward, because outside of another collection pack, do they really create like a $30 or $40 or even try to market it as a $60 standalone title and bring over Super Mario Galaxy 2 when you got 3 classic 3D Mario games that are beloved and fan classics also, being Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, which I have a controversial take on this, but that is my favorite 3D Mario of all time, period. Yes, I said it. I love Sunshine. I always will, always have. The platforming, the difficulty, everything about that game, even the story elements, I just enjoy thoroughly. And while I love all the 3D Marios, that one still stands out to me as my favorite of the group. But in addition to that, of course, we also got Super Mario Galaxy to round out the 3 collections. And it's like, if there ever was a window, and if Nintendo did want to bring back this classic game to the Nintendo Switch in full force, I personally believe it would have been on that 35th anniversary celebration. And I do unfortunately think we may be at a point in time where we have to accept that for years and years to come, barring any kind of future 3D Mario collection, maybe Nintendo goes crazy one day for Mario's 40th or 45th or 50th anniversary, and they decide to actually remake or up-res all of the 2D Marios in addition to the 3D titles and bring them over to whatever that modern platform platform is, and maybe that's how we get this game resold. I personally don't see them putting the time and effort into porting Galaxy 2 to the Switch as a standalone game, and I say that as much as I want to see it happen, I would actually pay $60 for this game. The amount of stages that are in there, especially if you want to go 100% and get every single power star, is absolutely insane, and there is so much gameplay and fun experiences to be had that I think it warrants a $60 price. I wouldn't say that's the most consumer friendly thing to do, but the level of nostalgia and enjoyment I have for this particular Mario installment, I would pay it. And that's one thing with the Nintendo Switch that I definitely feel different about than I did with prior consoles, because I definitely do have a added sense of value to my Switch library of games when I keep in mind that I can play these things on a TV dock or pick them up on the OLED, which I have been playing way more in handheld recently since I got a case controller for it that feels a lot more beefy than the Joy-Cons. I may do a future review or something on the channel too, because I find myself playing in handheld mode far more than I ever did before now that I have something more beefy to grip onto and with more sizable buttons, as I just think the Joy-Cons themselves unfortunately are just a little bit too small for my taste. But the ability to pick up and play these games at any time however you want to definitely has an added value factor for my mindset and how I view what I'm willing to spend on a game. And even though I don't think it's likely that Nintendo will port it over as a standalone project, as I think that's the only way you can really do it at this point, I do think that they should, because I think that while we are in the hybrid era of gaming, Nintendo should build out this library as vast as possible, and even with whatever rolls forward, whether that be a more powerful Nintendo Switch 2 or Nintendo Switch Pro, whatever you want to call it, as long as it is backwards compatible and we are sticking with the hybrid form factor for this foreseeable future, you could in theory have access to the best Nintendo titles of all time, at least the largest selection of them on one console, and have them playable in handheld or docked mode. And I think that is a very exciting prospect. If Nintendo does a clean hard break to new hardware and doesn't make it backwards compatible with the existing library of the Switch, I think that would be a freaking ridiculous misstep for them to do, and I'm hopeful that they will not do that. And I think if they're smart, they do roll their Switch library of games forward. But that all brings us back to the conversation around Mario and his 3D titles, because if you start to think about it, it has been quite a while since we've seen anything in a new mainline 3D Mario installment, and I personally think that whether it be Odyssey 2, Galaxy 3, or something entirely new, brand new direction and mechanics from the ground up, I think we are going to get that release next. And maybe as years pass, we will eventually get something like a Galaxy 2 project as a standalone title. But it is an unfortunate thing that dawned on me yesterday when playing this game that yes, indeed, this may be the missing, forgotten 3D Mario platformer that will ultimately not make it to the Nintendo Switch in any way, shape, or form for the foreseeable future. And that, in my opinion, when you look at how fans love and enjoy this game and have so much nostalgia for it, is an unfortunate misstep when you look at the library of available titles on the Nintendo Switch. In a perfect world, I would have this ported over. I would have all of the classic Zeldas ported over. I definitely think that this is the console generation to bring back all of the retro classics, but redo them with modern resolution and visuals, and also have new titles going on alongside of these classic ports and remasters, because you should have teams available to do them, since you are not developing for a handheld console like the DS and 3DS era in addition to a home console, but rather everything is merged into one platform. Throw all of those 3DS and DS teams that were developing games for those platforms onto the port/remaster division of the company and be pumping out both simultaneously. I definitely think there's a market for it, and that's where I want to hear from you guys on this. If we were to get a standalone Super Mario Galaxy 2 at a $40, $50, or even $60 price point, would you consider picking that up, even though we've experienced things like the 3D Mario All-Star Collection, which is a bundle of 3 games, obviously, all at once? And what do you think the likelihood is of Nintendo ever porting this project standalone? Do you think that we have to wait for something like a future round number anniversary, like a 40 or 45, to potentially potentially see this game ever make it over? Or do you think there is a world where on an off year when we don't see any Mario projects released whatsoever, that yes indeed Nintendo will take the time to move over this classic game? So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.